Okay. Hi students, good evening. So we will try to continue from where we have left in the second session. Okay. So second session we have talked about the idea of the Coulomb's law. Okay. So and the Coulomb's law expression we were able to look at it in the second session. Okay. We will try to continue with the problems based on the Coulomb's law expression. அதுக்கப்புறம் we'll also try to look at some more application level questions. Okay va? So we'll start with this session. So we'll straight away begin with the questions only. Yeah. So paranga, what is the first question for today? So look at this students, what is the first question for today? Is there any minimum value of force possible between any two charges? Charges. Okay, they are not even telling what are the values of the charges, but look at the question. They're asking, is there a minimum value of force possible between two charges at a separation of 1 centimeter in the air? Okay, so they can they can even ask, it's a theoretical question, they can even ask if there is a possibility, what is that value of force? Okay, so if you look at the multiple choice question, right? So here you will have yes, it will be possible and this is the value. Elena, no, it will not be possible. Like that, you will have 4 options. Cannot say on the madri. Okay, but here we have just taken out the options because we just want to solve the question and check. Okay, so is there any minimum value of force possible between any two charges at a separation of 1 centimeter? Okay, see, let us say we are having two charges, Q1 and Q2. Okay, and what is the separation between them? They are fixing it 1 centimeter. As per the Coulomb's law formula, right, the force of attraction or repulsion, it depends upon the charge or the nature. Like charges means repel, unlike means attract. Okay, so the force magnitude is given by what? K into mod Q1 into mod Q2 divided by R square. So the K oda value SI unit is what? 9 into 10 power 9. Okay, divided by R 1 centimeter. 1 centimeter means in terms of meter, what is it? 10 power minus 2 dana. So it will be what? 10 power minus 2 the square. Now we are having mod Q1 into mod Q2. Whenever we say charge, right, remember we will go back to that quantization of charge. Okay, so what is the basic understanding? Whenever object is getting charged, it will always get charged in terms of the integer multiple of that basic charge, either it is the positive integer multiple or negative integer multiple. We'll call it as what? Q is equal to plus or minus n into E. Okay, now when you look at this, right, what is the minimum charge possible on any object? Either plus E or minus E. When you say charged object and sonna, you should have minimum charge either plus E or minus E. Zero dana uncharged object. So we are saying two charges and sonna, what it means? It is having a charge. The charge of the minimum value it will be either plus E or minus E dana, because charge always will be in terms of that quantum. What is that quantum or that basic value? E dana. So the minimum charge possible. So when you look at the force, right? Force is proportional to the product of the charge values. Means if the charge is increasing, if the q1 value is increasing, the f will be increasing. If q2 is increasing, then also the f value will be increasing. So when we will have the minimum possible value for the force between two charges at a separation of 1 centimeter, so when we are going to have, when both these charge values are nothing but the basic charge, either plus C or minus C. Okay va? So modulus already, modulus then what you are going to get? Just 1.6 into 10 power minus 19, because everything we are taking in the SI unit. Purida? So this final value of the force is going to come in which unit? Newton's varum. Okay. So this is the minimum possible force between any two charges which are at a separation of 1 centimeter. Like, you know, we look at the charged object, means always the charge must be quantized. So if you look at the force expression, when the charge is increasing, force will increase because it is proportional. Coulomb's law, what is the understanding we are having? The force of attraction or repulsion between two charges is directly proportional to the magnitudes of the charges, which means, and the charge value is increasing means what? The q1 or q2 charge value is increasing means the force between the charges will be increasing. So when we'll have the minimum force, when the q1 value or q2 value are the minimum possible values. Minimum possible values, what is it? It will be equal to what? The basic charge, because charge will be always quantized. Charge will be always what? Quantized. In the expression simplify panna, we are going to get what is the value of that minimum possible force. So if you are simplifying this expression, means we can get what? We can get what is that minimum possible force. Okay va? But in the question we are not required to find. They are asking just, is there any minimum value of force possible? So the answer is yes, there is a minimum possible value of the force. Because already distance is fixed. Distance is fixed. Charge value can only have the minimum value in the basic charge. Q2 also will have a minimum value basic charge. That's zero means we will go to uncharged object. But clear, they are saying charges means the minimum possible value of the charge is what? Basic charge. Purida? So this is how we will be able to look at question like this. If they are asking particularly on the force value, then what we are supposed to do in the expression, simplify like we will have to multiply 1.6 into 1.6 into 9. Multiply we will be able to find out what is that minimum value for that force. Okay va? Clear, students? So this is the problem based on the quantization of the charge concept. Okay, add the question pola. Look at the next one. So all these questions are based upon the Coulomb's law, other expression. Okay, force between two charges at a separation is F. Means what? Rendu charges nadula, the force is what? F, when they are at a separation. Okay va? So F means what? This is the force magnitude. Then the force or the magnitude. Okay va? If the distance between them is doubled, we are doubling the distance between the two charges, and one of the charges is tripled, what is the new force value? And the rendu charge nadula, what is the new force value? See, in the mathematical questions we will call them as case basis questions and solve. What do you call them as? Case basis questions. Why are we saying that case basis questions? Force between two charges at a separation is F, means that is like the case 1. They are saying distance is changed, and one charge value is changed, means by changing some of the parameters you are going to the second case. So case 1 you are going to second case. So this model of questions, they will give some information about the case 1. And the case 1 பத்தி they will give some information. அதிலிருந்து they will try to ask us question about the case 2. Okay, so case 1 la they will give some information. அதிலிருந்து they will try to ask some information about the case 2. எப்படி இந்த ப்ராப்ளம்ஸ் நான் அப்ரோச் பண்றது? Look at this. So இதுல என்ன தெரியுமா, they will not actually give the values of lot of data. So நிறைய information they will not give the actual values. இதுல என்ன சொல்றாங்க பாருங்க, they are saying distance is doubled, அந்த மாதிரி one charge is tripled. அப்படி they will not give the actual values. Actual values அவங்க கொடுக்க மாட்டா, they will only give the relations. So எப்படி தெரியுமா இதை அப்ரோச் பண்றது? We will have to begin with some assumptions. நம்ம values assume பண்ணணும். Okay, so we'll say that initially the charges that are there are q1 and q2. Okay va, and the distance between the two charges is what r. அப்படி எடுக்கலாம். So all these are what நம்ம introduce பண்ண variables. Okay, final answer க்கு பாத்தீங்கன்னா it should not be coming in these values. இந்த valuesல வரக்கூடாது. It should be coming only in terms of what, then MCQ examல பாத்தீங்கன்னா like all these options, right? எப்படி தெரியுமா, they will be like 2f 5 by, they will all be in terms of f. Okay va, so the final answer should not be coming in terms of these variables that we are introducing. But in the variables நம்ம introduce பண்ணலன்னா problem approach பண்ணவே முடியாது. Okay, so what are we saying, நமக்கு என்னென்ன அந்த variables வேணுமோ அந்த எல்லா variables நம்ம first assume பண்ணணும். Okay, so we are assuming what, let the charge values are what q1 q2 னு வெச்சுக்கலாம், and the distance between them is what r. So first என்ன சொல்றாங்க, the force between them is, force means what, the force order magnitude is what, k into mod q1 into mod q2 by r square. அதுதானா? So then தெரியுமா, we'll keep it as equation 1. We'll keep it as what, equation 1. Okay, அதுக்கப்புறம் we have to read the statement one more time. இங்க பாருங்க, the distance between them is doubled means what, இங்க எவ்வளவு, the distance is what, 2r. So எல்லா வேல்யூஸ் என்ன தெரியுமா, they will be related to the first case. One of the charge is tripled, வெறும் one charge மட்டும். So let us say that q1 நம்ம triple பண்ண வெச்சுக்கோங்க, then it becomes what, 3 times of q1. Okay, q2 value அப்படியே இருக்கும், q2 is not changed. Okay, so இப்போ force என்ன வரும் பாருங்க, f dash ன்னு சொல்லலாம். Okay, so what is it going to be, k into modulus of 3q1, ஏன் இங்க charge என்ன 3q1 into modulus of q2 divide by இங்க என்ன, the distance 2r தானா, so distance square. புரியுதா? So we have to look at what are the charge values in case 2. இதனது case 2. We have to look at what are the charge values in case 2 and what is the distance in case 2. அதிலிருந்து we are putting that expression for the force. The second case la what is the expression for the force. இத நம்ம என்ன சொல்றோம், f dash ன்னு சொல்றோம். இந்த f dash ஓட value should be coming in terms of f. Final answer பாத்தீங்கன்னா what we need to tell, what is the new force value in terms of this f. ஏன்னா they are giving only one parameter or one quantity. The full question statement la பாத்தீங்கன்னா there is only one quantity that is given to us. என்னது, f, initial force, அது மட்டும் கொடுத்திருக்கா. Then the final answer also should be in terms of that f. Okay வா, பாருங்க எப்படி வருதுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு. So இதுல தெரியுமா, modulus of 3 times of q1, 3 is a positive number, அது அப்படியே வெளியே வரும். So பாருங்க 3 into k into mod q1 into mod q, denominatorல 2r the whole square இருக்கா. So அப்படியே நம்ம அந்த 2 வெளியே எடுத்துட்டு வந்தா what is it going to become, 2 square ஆயிடும். So 2 square means what, 4. So 2 square into r square. Okay, so இப்ப பாருங்க, just look at this, observe carefully. என்னது, நியூமரேட்டர்ல 3 இருக்கு தனியா, அந்த மாதிரி டினாமினேட்டர்ல 4. 4 எப்படி வருது, 2 square is 4. அதுக்கப்புறம் என்ன, k into mod q1 into mod q2 into r square. இது என்னது, this is our original f தானா. equation 1 ல இருந்து what is f value, k into mod q1 into mod q2 by r square. அதுதானா. so அந்த k into mod q1 into mod q2 by r square, அதுக்கு பதிலா நம்ம என்ன சப்ஸ்டிட்யூட் பண்ணலாம், f. so இங்க பாருங்க, what are we getting, f dash is equal to what, 3 by 4 into f. புரியுதா, what is the new force value. so what is the new force value, it will be what, 3 by 4 into f. so இந்த மாதிரி problem, see physics என்ன தெரியுமா, நம்ம ஒரு சாப்டர் வந்து இங்க ஒரு சாப்டர் போகும்போது we will have the concepts or the and the principles எல்லாம் change ஆகும். We'll learn about new concept, we'll learn about new and the definitions அதெல்லாம் வரும். But when we look at the models of questions, especially NEET-ல பார்த்தீங்கன்னா this case basis questions னு சொல்லி தெரியுமா, this is a very important model of question. Like you look at any of the past year NEET papers பார்த்தீங்கன்னா you will get sometimes ஒரு chapter இருந்து வரும், sometimes you will get the same question from different chapter. But this model of question, the case basis question, is a very important model. Okay va, and very easy to approach also. நீங்க இந்த எப்படி அந்த approach map மட்டும் நீங்க ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கோங்க. So what we'll do, case 1 ஒரு சில values we'll assume, அதுல இருந்து we'll get an equation, அதுக்கு அப்புறம் we'll relate it to the case 2. Okay, so these case basis questions, they'll be based upon one formula. Always the case basis question எப்படி தெரியுமா, they'll be always based upon the formula. நீங்க so like say இப்போ you take a chapter in plus 1 you take for example the properties of solids எடுங்க, அதுல you will have the stress strain formula. What is the formula? Stress is equal to Young's modulus into strain. Okay, and the formula based பண்ணி you can have the case based question. Like whatever formula you're having, right? Like you have the Newton's law of gravitation formula, F is equal to G into m1 m2 by r square. வெறும் அந்த formula based பண்ணி you can have the case based questions. எப்படி தெரியுமா, like they'll say initial mass, one of the mass is like doubled and the distance is made 4 times அப்படி. Like the parameters can be changed. Change பண்ணி they will ask the relation between the first case and second case. இங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா what they're asking, what is the new value of the force? Second case la vara force value, they're asking us to give the value in terms of what? F another the force value in the first case appadi. They will ask us to relate case 1 to case 2. Okay, so we'll go to the next question. Paranga, this is another very standard question theriyuma. In fact, this question has come in one of the previous year aims nenikira. Okay, so paranga, charge Q is divided into 2 parts. How parts? We are dividing into how many parts? 2 parts. Okay, in what ratio the charges must be divided? So another endha ratio la nama divide pananum such that the force of repulsion between them is maximum for a given separation. So திருப்பி படிச்சு பாருங்க question. A charge Q is divided into 2 parts. We can divide in whatever way, right? எப்படி, like you can divide 2 parts நம்ம divide பண்ணோம்னா we can divide it like q by 2 half நம்ம divide பண்ணலாம். இல்லனா we can divide it like what, q by 3 2q by 3, இல்லனா q by 4 3q by 4 up q by 5. நிறைய விதமா நம்ம divide பண்ணலாம். You can divide in whatever way, q by 6 5q by 6 அந்த மாதிரி நிறைய விதமா நம்ம divide பண்ணலாம். பட் இதுல அவங்க என்ன கேக்குறாங்க, in what ratio the charges must be divided. இப்போ நம்ம q by 2 நம்ம டிவைட் பண்ணா அந்த டிவிஷனுக்கு அப்புறம் வர சார்ஜோட ரேஷியோ என்ன பாருங்க, 1:1. இங்க என்னது, q by 3 is to 2q by 3. What is the ratio in which we are dividing? 1:2. இங்க என்னது பாருங்க, 1:3. Here what is it? இதுல 1:4, இதுல 1:5. Like even if you are looking for options, right, இப்படி தான் இருக்கும். Like if the question is given in an MCQ examination, means they will say it like this, 1:1, அதுக்கப்புறம் 1:2, 1:3, 1:4 அப்படி கொடுப்பா. Okay, so here what is the question? We need to find in what ratio the charge should be divided such that the force of repulsion between them is maximum. Another, the force of repulsion should be maximum for a given separation. For a given separation, so now what it means, we are fixing the distance between the 2 parts. So for charge Q நம்ம ரெண்டு பார்ட்ஸா பிரேக் பண்ணா we have to keep them at a separation, right? We have to keep the 2 parts at a separation. Already எது நம்ம ஃபிக்ஸ் பண்றோம், we are fixing the distance between the 2 parts. அது ஆல்ரெடி நம்ம ஃபிக்ஸ் பண்ணியாச்சு. அந்த வேல்யூ நம்ம ஃபிக்ஸ் பண்ணிட்டு we are looking for in what ratio we should divide the charges so that அந்த சார்ஜஸ்க்கு நடுவில் இருக்கிற ஃபோர்ஸ் will be what, maximum. இது என்ன தெரியுமா, நம்ம அப்படியே நிறைய கேசஸ் எடுத்துட்டு சப்ஸ்டிட்யூட் பண்ணி பார்க்கலாமா? Like what are we saying? We can divide the charge into q by 2 q by 2. Illana we can divide the charge into what? Q by 3 to Q by 3, or we can divide the charge into Q by 4. ingona part enna varum? 3Q by 4. Illana we can divide the charge into what? Q by 5, 4Q by 5. அப்படி நமக்கு நிறைய விதமா நம்ம டிவைட் பண்ணலாம். So can we go on checking? ஏன்னா force formula நமக்கு தெரியும். What is the force formula? Either let us assume that Q is positive and assume பண்ணலாம். அப்படி assume பண்ணா then you know, remember what is the expression? K into the first charge oda part into second part divide by R square. இதுதானா? இதுல K is a constant, R square also fixed. இதையும் constant. ஏன்னா அது fix பண்ணியாச்சு நம்ம. இதுல வெறும் இந்த charge values மட்டும் vary ஆகும். The first part oda charge and second part charge, அந்த ரெண்டு charge values மட்டும் vary ஆகும். மத்ததெல்லாம் constant. K is a constant, அந்த மாதிரி R square is also constant. So இப்படியே நம்ம ஒரு வேல்யூ எடுத்துட்டு சப்ஸ்டிட்யூட் பண்ணி பார்க்கலாமா? So first நம்ம என்ன பண்ணணும்? இந்த Q by 2 எடுத்துட்டு we will have to put it. அதுக்கப்புறம் அதுல இருந்து நமக்கு F எவ்வளவு வருதுன்னு பார்க்கணும். அதுக்கப்புறம் we have to take this Q by 3 to Q by 3. அதுல இருந்து நம்ம F எவ்வளவு வருதுன்னு பார்க்கணும். அதுக்கப்புறம் Q by 4, 3Q by 4, Q by 5, 4Q by 5. அப்படி நம்ம பண்ணா then what is going to happen? We will never be able to complete that question. Yeah. Because this is going to have whatever number of possibilities. நம்ம எத்தனை விதமா நம்ம டிவைட் பண்ணலாம்? We cannot count, right? So we can divide it like this: Q by 6, 5Q by 6, Q by 7, அதுக்கப்புறம் 6. We can divide it in infinite number of ways ல நம்ம divide பண்ணலாம். We can divide the charge into two parts in how many ways? Infinite number of ways ல நம்ம divide பண்ணலாம். So we cannot ஒரு வேல்யூ நம்ம எடுத்துட்டு செக் பண்ண முடியாது. We cannot be just going and checking these values. அப்படி செக் பண்ண முடியாது. So what is the approach? So இது ஒரு ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் கொஸ்டின். ஓகே, நீங்க புரிஞ்சுக்கோங்க எப்படி நம்ம இந்த ப்ராப்ளம் அப்ரோச் பண்ணோம்னு சொல்லிட்டு. இதுக்கப்புறம் if you are getting a similar type of question, right, நம்ம இந்த அப்ரோச்சை ஃபாலோ பண்ணலாம். So if you look at charge Q, இது நம்ம எப்படி ஸ்ப்ளிட் பண்றது? ரெண்டா நம்ம ஸ்ப்ளிட் பண்ண போறோம். We are dividing into two parts. இதுல என்ன தெரியுமா? Whenever we are dividing anything, அது ஒரு சார்ஜ் ஆகட்டும், மாஸ் ஆகட்டும், லெங்த் ஆகட்டும், into two parts, இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு வேரியபிளா நம்ம எடுக்கலாம். பாருங்க, Q by 2 plus X, Q by 2 minus X. இதுல X என்ன தெரியுமா? X என்னது? இதுதான் வேரியபிள். X என்னது? வேரியபிள். X ஓட வேல்யூ சேஞ்ச் ஆயிட்டே இருக்கும். We don't know what is the value of X. அதை நம்ம இங்க கால்குலேட் பண்ணணும். So பாருங்க, when you are dividing a charge into two parts, அது எப்படி நம்ம ஒரு வேரியபிள் ஃபார்ம்ல கொண்டு வரலாம்? Q by 2 plus X, Q by 2 minus X. அப்படி, like we can divide the charge into what? Q by 2 plus X, Q by 2 minus X. இது ஒரு ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் அப்ரோச். இன்னொரு ப்ராப்ளம்ல let's say we are dividing a mass into two parts. அப்ப என்ன தெரியுமா? M by 2, the mass ஓட half value plus X. அந்த மாதிரி M by 2 minus X அப்படி. Like if you are dividing a length into two parts, எப்படி பண்ணலாம்? L by 2 plus X, L by 2 minus X. இது ஒரு ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் அப்ரோச் ஆஃப் dividing any quantity by using a variable. ஒரு வேரியபிள் வச்சு எப்படி அந்த quantity divide பண்றது? This is a very standard approach. ஓகேவா? So how are we dividing the charge? We are saying, let us say the charge is divided as what? ஒரு வேல்யூ என்ன? Q by 2 plus X. இன்னொரு வேல்யூ என்னது? Q by 2 minus X. X வேல்யூ நமக்கு தெரியாது. We don't know what is the value of X. அதை நம்ம find out பண்ணணும். X வேல்யூ தெரியுதா? We have to find what is the value of X. இப்போ பாருங்க, what is the force between the two charges? K into, இங்க என்னது charge? Q by 2 plus X. Already நம்ம assumption பண்ணிருக்கோம். What is it? We are saying, let us say Q is what? Positive. Okay, Q நெகட்டிவா இருக்கலாம், but we are saying for the sake of the calculation we are saying Q is what? Positive. Okay, இங்க பாருங்க, what is it? First charge value என்னது? Q by 2 plus X. அதுக்கு தான் நம்ம அந்த modulus எடுக்கலாம். Okay, so why we have taken the modulus out? Because anyway the charge is positive. அதுக்கப்புறம் what is the second charge value? Q by 2 minus X divided by R square. So இது எப்படி இருக்கு பாருங்க. How is it? A plus B into A minus B. Is it like A plus B into A minus B? Correct only, no? So இங்க பாருங்க, force is equal to K divided by R square. அதை நம்ம தனியா வச்சுக்கலாம். Anyway that is a fixed value, அதில் ஒரு change வராது. அதுக்கப்புறம் what is a plus b into a minus b? a square minus b square தானா? What is a plus b into a minus b? a square minus b square. பாருங்க, a square ன்னு சொன்னா என்னது? q square by 4. q by 2 நம்ம ஸ்கொயர் பண்ணா என்ன வரும்? q square by 4 தானா? minus b square. b என்னது? x. so b square என்ன? x square. okay, so இதுதான் அந்த force ஓட expression. பாருங்க என்ன வருது? what is the force expression coming to us? What is the force expression? It is coming as what? K by r square. K by r square is a constant. Okay, அது பத்தி நம்ம டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ண வேண்டாம். அடுத்து என்ன வருது? into q square by 4 minus the x square. என்னது? into q square by 4 minus the x square. இங்க பாருங்க. So we have come to the final step. So force expression என்ன? K by r square தனியா இருக்க fixed value. ஓகேவா? அதுல சேஞ்ச் வராது. அதுக்கப்புறம் q square by 4 minus x square. இப்போ நம்ம இந்த ப்ராப்ளம் எதுக்காக நம்ம சால்வ் பண்றோம்? we want to have the force between these two parts. நம்ம அந்த டிவைட் பண்ண பார்ட்ஸ் எது தெரியுமா? அந்த பார்ட்ஸ் நடுவுல we are looking for the force to be what? maximum. எதுக்காக நம்ம இந்த ப்ராப்ளம் சால்வ் பண்றோம்? we are looking for the force to be maximum. நீங்க இந்த எக்ஸ்பிரஷன் பாருங்க. this force value depends on the x value இல்லையா? the force value will depend upon the x. but ஒரு தடவை நீங்க க்ளோஸா அப்சர்வ் பண்ணா what are we doing actually? in the q square by 4 ல இருந்து we are subtracting x square. என்ன பண்றோம்? we are subtracting the x square ஓட value from what? q square by 4. நமக்கு என்ன வேணும்? force should be maximum. see, x value என்னலாம் இருக்கலாம்? x can be what? maybe a plus 1 இருக்கலாம், or it can be minus 1 or plus 0.5 minus 0.5. it can be anything. it can be 0 also. x can have any values. but நம்ம என்ன பண்றோம்? we are subtracting x square from the q square by 4. ஓகேவா? see, x square ன்னு சொன்னா whether x is a positive value ஆகட்டும் or negative value, x square will be always what? positive. whether x is a positive value or negative value, x square will be always positive. positive தானா? நீங்க பாருங்க, 1 square எவ்வளவு? 1. minus 1 எடுத்துட்டு ஸ்கொயர் பண்ணா that is also going to give us 1. so என்ன வருதுன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா we are always subtracting something from q square by 4. subtract பண்ணா அந்த force ஓட வேல்யூ என்ன ஆகும்? கம்மி ஆகும். so நீங்க ஒரு வேல்யூ எடுத்துட்டு subtract பண்ணா what is the effect on the force? force value will keep decreasing தானா? we are looking for what? force to be maximum, which means the force is going to be maximum எப்போ? when your x is equal to 0. 0 இல்லாம நீங்க ஏதாவது வேல்யூ எடுங்க. you take the x to be some positive value ஆகட்டும் or negative value. what is happening to the force? நீங்க செக் பண்ணி பாருங்க. we are subtracting some x square. so whether x is positive or negative, x square will be always positive. so we are subtracting some positive number from the force. the force or expression வந்து we are subtracting some number. and when the force will be maximum? when the x value is 0. அப்பதா the force will be maximum. இல்லனா you will always be subtracting something. and the q square by 4 ல இருந்து we are always subtracting something, right? so இப்ப பாருங்க, in what condition we will have the force between the two parts to be maximum? எந்த கண்டிஷன்ல? when the x is what? 0. அந்த particular conditionல we are getting the force to be what? maximum வருது. okay, so in the theoretical understanding, right, அது நமக்கு இருக்கணும். so what are we saying? force expression பார்த்தா அதுல what is happening? we are always subtracting that x square term. and the q square by 4 ல இருந்து we are subtracting x square. x can be positive, x can be negative, x can be 0. whether x is positive or x is negative, நம்ம ஸ்கொயர் பண்ணா it will become positive. so we are always subtracting a positive number from the q square. அப்ப என்ன ஆகும்? force value will be always becoming lesser. force will be maximum means எப்போ வரும் அது? when you subtract nothing. அதுக்கு என்ன possibility? whenever x is equal to 0. அதுதான் ஒரே possibility. when x is equal to 0, that is where our force will be what? maximum. okay, so இப்ப பாருங்க, we are saying x must be 0, then our force will be what? maximum. okay, in the problem என்ன தெரியுமா? we can also solve it by using another approach. in mathematics you will have differentiation approach and so you will have one approach. And the approach will நம்ம solve பண்ணலாம் this particular question. But since we don't want to touch the differentiation integration, right, அதனால we have taken this normal mathematical reasoning approach. Okay, so இதில் என்ன வருது finally பாருங்க, x has to be 0 if that force between the two parts has to be maximum. அதுக்கு என்னது condition, our x must be 0. x 0 means பாருங்க what will be the two charge values in the பக்கம் என்ன வருது, x is 0 means q by 2 அந்த பக்கம் q by 2. So the charge q must be divided into two equal parts. எப்படி break பண்ணனும், we should divide the charge into two equal parts. அப்படி நம்ம divide பண்ணா then in that particular case அந்த ரெண்டு parts நடுவுல இருக்கிற force, right, that will be what, that will be the maximum value. இப்படி இல்லாம you can divide in whatever other way, like instead of having it like q by 2 in the division எல்லாமே you take any other division, any other type of division, adala you are always going to get the force to be what, minimum. This is where you are going to have the force maximum value. Okay, in the situation illame you take any other situation, like we divide the charges like q by 3 to q by 3, ninga venona you can just check it and find out. Or you divide the charges into what, q by 4 3q by 4, ninga apdi divide panna enna agum, you will end up getting the force to be always lesser than this value. You will end up getting the force to be always what, lesser than this value. Okay va, so what is the answer for this question? They are asking in what ratio we should divide these charges. எப்படி நம்ம divide பண்ணிருக்கோம், q by 2 q by 2. So what is the ratio, 1:1. என்னது, we are dividing the charges in what ratio, 1:1. Okay va, so this is a very standard question. See, நாம என்ன பண்ண தெரியுமா, whenever we are beginning to solve questions, first இந்த எல்லா standard questions நீங்க பார்க்கணும். அதுல இருந்து என்ன தெரியுமா, we will get some standard results வரும், அந்த மாதிரி we will also get some basic approach to solving questions. எப்போ நம்ம அந்த standard problems நம்ம பார்க்கறோம், அதுல இருந்து we are going to get some basic approach to solving questions that is going to be useful for us. Okay, so அடுத்தது என்ன பாருங்க, this is another interesting question. This is based on the idea of charge redistribution. This is based on the idea of charge redistribution. Okay, two identical objects and சொன்னா they are identical. Shape நமக்கு தெரியாது, but they are what, identical. If they are sphere means they will have the same radius, like that. They are identical objects. Two identical objects having charges 10 coulombs and minus 2 coulombs. ஒரு object மேல what is the charge, 10 coulombs. இன்னொரு object மேல minus 2 coulombs. Both these objects are what, identical objects. Okay va, have force magnitude F between them. And ரெண்டு charge நடுவுல what is the force magnitude between them, F. If they both are made to contact once, means what, இங்க பாருங்க, this is 10 coulomb charge, இதனது minus 2 coulomb. First நம்ம என்ன பண்றோம், we are making them to contact பண்ண என்ன ஆகும் தெரியுமா, என்ன ஆகும், there is going to be charge redistribution. or ரெண்டு charged objects contact பண்ண there is going to be what, charge redistribution. Charge redistribution என்ன தெரியுமா, இந்த charge மேல what is the இந்த object மேல what is the charge that is there, 10 coulombs. In the object மேல what is it, minus 2 coulombs. So total available charge எவ்வளவு, 10 minus 2 அண்ணா 8 coulombs தானா. அந்த ரெண்டு objects நம்ம touch பண்ணா what is the total available charge now, இந்த பக்கத்துல வந்து we are getting 10, அந்த பக்கத்துல வந்து it is what, minus 2. Totally what is it, 10 minus 2 is equal to what, 8. Okay va, this is the total charge available. இதனது total charge. Now this total charge will be redistributed. Because they are identical objects, how it is going to be distributed, equal. In this object we will get 4 coulomb charge, other object also will get 4 coulomb charge. Edanala, because these are what, identical objects. So this is what we call as the charge redistribution on the identical objects. Okay va, so whatever the total amount of charge available, idhil enna, one side we are having a positive charge, இன்னொரு side we are having negative charge, அதனால the charge is getting cancelled, positive negative they will cancel. If you are having both positive means they will add. Apadi and the rendu values will be getting added. Okay va? So once you make them to contact, what is going to happen? Charge is going to be redistributed. Okay va? Redistribution kaparam, each of them is going to have how much charge? 4 coulombs each. Because they both are identical objects. Because they both are what? Identical objects. Okay va? So if they both are made to contact once and then brought back to the original place, அப்படியே அந்த ரெண்டு கான்டாக்ட் அப்புறம் திருப்பி we are taking them back, whatever is the original separation தெரியுமா, the value நமக்கு தெரியாது, let us say r, the original distance between the two charges எவ்வளோ r ன்னு வெச்சுக்கலாம். We are taking them back to the original place. What will be the new force between them? So here also we have to give the value in terms of what? F. We have to give the value in terms of F. We have to answer what? What is the new force between them? And the matter, there is one more question. Is the nature of the force going to change or not? They're asking, is the nature of the force going to change or not? Change aguma. Change aguma agada. Paranga, initially one charge is what? Positive, 10 coulombs. Ingonu charge negative, minus 2 coulombs. And the charge redistribution kaparam, what is the values of the charges on both the objects? In the object mele annadi 4 coulombs, and the object mele 4 coulombs. They both are now having what? Positive charge. Means initially both of them will be attracting. They are carrying opposite type of charge. Finally both of them will be repelling. So they are asking the question, is the nature of the force going to change or not? Yes, change agum. Initially it is what? Attractive. Finally what is happening to the force? Force is becoming what? Repulsive. Okay va? So initially they both will be attracting, and finally they both will be what? Repelling. Because they are now carrying the same type of charge. So in the concept romba important. What is the concept here? Redistribution of the charge. Another redistribution of charge on identical objects. See, namak enna theriyuma, neatla we are going to get almost majority of the times we are going to get the standard models of questions da varum. Okay, so when you practice all the standard models of questions, neenga the question paatha odane you should get the idea. Okay, this is based on the charge redistribution, or this is based on like whatever the standard models, you should be able to identify to which model it is related to. Appanna theriyuma, we will get lot of confidence to approach the problems. Nariya students kenna will get stuck with the idea that okay, physics questions ella tough avarum solli and idea le you will be losing half the battle. But once we solve all the standard types of questions, when you look at the past year question paper eduthu neenga paatha, you will see that most of the times the questions will be surrounding these standard models. So adilende we will derive the confidence. So once you are confident, in the final exam also we will be able to solve the questions with comfort. Adha romba important. Okay, so paranga, this is what? Redistribution of the charge on identical objects. Idhula there is one more concept, redistribution of the charge on different objects. Adu eppo theriyuma, when we go and discuss about the electrostatic potential, when you go and discuss about the electrostatic potential, then we will talk about redistribution of the charge on different objects. Appo nama adu pathi pesa porom. Okay, but here what is it? Redistribution of the charge on identical objects. Idhila enna very simple concept. Whatever is the available total charge enanadi, first object is having 10 coulomb, second object is having minus 2 coulomb, totally evlo varudhu 10 minus 2, totally what is it? 8. And the total charge அப்படியே நம்ம divide பண்ண போறோம் equally, because both are what? Identical objects. Okay va? So இந்த object மேல என்ன வருது? 4 coulombs. Second object also will have 4 coulombs. இப்போ பாருங்க, now we are going to relate the force. So initially என்னது? They are saying the force between the charges is F. அதுக்கு expression என்ன வருது பாருங்க? K into modulus of 10 coulombs into modulus of minus 2 coulombs into r square adana. So what is the first case la what is the force or expression? F is equal to what? K into anga irukra charges enna 10 coulombs is one charge, rendavathu minus 2 coulombs. So that is the formula. Idhula and the units mattum let us keep it aside for some time. Ena we know that second case also the charges are having what unit? Coulombs only, right? So let us keep the units aside for some time. Idhula very value mattum parunga. This is what? 10. Modulus of 10 and sonna 10 dana. Idhana the modulus of minus 2 means 2 varum. So look at this. This is what? Veru on the value mattum 20k by r square varum. So the equation 1 nama vechikalam. What is it? 20k by r square. Eppadi varudhu? Just we are taking that Coulomb's law formula அப்படியே அந்த values நம்ம substitute பண்றோம். Second case என்ன வருதுன்னு பாருங்க. Let us say the force here is F dash. Second case we are saying the force is what? F dash. இதுக்கு என்ன formula? K into here what are the charges? Modulus of 4 coulombs into modulus of 4 coulombs. ஏன்னா ரெண்டு ஆப்ஜெக்ட்ஸ்க்கு மேல now what are the charges? 4 coulombs and 4 coulombs. ஓகேவா? Divided by the r square. Distance change ஆகல பாருங்க. So they are brought back to the same original place. ரெண்டு எடுத்துட்டு we are taking them back to the same original place. ஓகேவா? So இப்போ பாருங்க இதுல என்ன தெரியுமா? We'll just keep the coulombs for some time aside. வெறும் value மட்டும் பாருங்க. What is it? இது என்னது 4. இது என்னது 4. So 4 4s are what? 16k by r square. Equation 2. Okay. So இப்போ நமக்கு என்ன வேணும்? F dash value தானா? What are we solving for? We are looking for what is the F dash of the value. F dash value should be coming in terms of F. எந்த இதுல வேணும்? We are looking for the F dash value in terms of the F. ஏன்னா வெறும் F மட்டும் is what is given in the question. The force between the two charges is F. They are giving the F value, right? So the final answer must be in terms of F. இங்க பாருங்க first equation ல இருந்து what is the first equation? F is equal to 20k by r square. இதுல இருந்து let us get the value of k by r square. என்ன பண்ணணும்? இந்த 20 left side எடுத்துட்டு வரணும். So what is it? F by 20 is equal to k by r square. அப்படியே அந்த k by r square ஓட value substitute in the second. பாருங்க second expression என்ன? F dash is equal to 16 into k by r square தானா? But k by r square என்னது? F by 20. In place of k by r square, substitute F by 20. Substitute பண்ணானு வரும் 4 4s are 16, 4 5s பாருங்க 4f by 5. அதுதான் நம்ம F dash ஓட value. So the new force between the objects என்னது? 4 times F by 5. What is the new force between the objects? Check it students. எவ்வளவு வரணும்? It should be coming as what? 4 times F by 5. Okay va? So this is how we are going to approach. So what is this problem based on? Redistribution of the charge. நம்ம ரெண்டு charged objects எடுத்துட்டு when we make them to contact என்ன ஆகும்? Charge is undergoing what? Redistribute ஆகும். Okay va? Redistribution la we are looking at what? Redistribution between identical objects. Identical objects means what? How the charge will be distributed? It will be redistributed equally because the objects are identical, right? But if you are having different objects, then what we are going to see is the redistribution will not be happening in the equal manner. Okay, so we will see those kind of questions when we go to the electrostatic potential. So that redistribution is going to depend upon the potential. The potential base panida we are going to see the redistribution between two different type of objects. Okay, these are identical objects, so there is no confusion. The redistribution is going to be what? Equal. Okay va? So clear students? இப்படி தான் நம்ம இந்த problems approach பண்ண போறோம். Now we will go to the next concept which is an important one. என்னது? Cumulative force. Already +1 gravitation அதுலயும் நம்ம இந்த கான்செப்ட் பார்த்திருக்கோம். What is it? If you have a mass, okay, ஒரு m mass வச்சுக்கோங்க, it is surrounded by multiple objects, m1, m2, m3, m4, like that. Each of them will exert a force. So how many forces will be acting on this object? In the object mele ethani force irukum? Each of the surrounding masses, m1 will apply a force, and the madri m2 will apply a force, and the madri m3 will apply a force, and the madri m4 also will apply force. So ethani force varum? We'll get 4 forces. Okay va? Now if you are looking for what is the total force, if you are looking for what is the total force or net force, if you are looking for what is the total force or net force, எப்படி அந்த வேல்யூ நம்ம ஃபைண்ட் அவுட் பண்றது? It is nothing but the vector sum of all the forces. அவ்வளவுதான். It's nothing but what? If there are many modes, you have to simply keep on adding them. எத்தனை ஃபோர்ஸ் இருக்கோ அந்த எல்லா ஃபோர்ஸும் நம்ம ஆட் பண்ணணும். பட் இதுல ஒரே ஒரு என்ன தெரியுமா? We have to keep clearly in mind that when we are adding these forces, என்ன நம்ம remember பண்ணணும்? We are talking about addition of vectors. அது மட்டும் நம்ம ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கணும். Because we are dealing with what? Vectors. அப்படியே நம்ம values add பண்ண முடியாது. Let's say for example, இந்த பக்கம் we are having a 2 Newton force னு வெச்சுக்கோங்க. இந்த பக்கம் we are having 3 Newtons. This side 4 Newtons. This side 5 Newtons. அப்படியே நம்ம 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 அப்படி சொல்ல முடியாது. Why? Because the addition of vectors will be following the vector law of addition. Okay va? The addition of vectors will be following the vector law of addition. This is what is the cumulative force concept in the gravitation. In case of electrostatics also same thing will come. Paranga, if you have a charge q, adukku surrounding let us say we have multiple charges nu vechukonga. We can have whatever number of charges. Okay, idhula enna q1 will apply a force. Already நம்ம பார்த்திருக்கோம், gravitation force and electrostatic force. இந்த ரெண்டுத்து நடுவுல there is difference. What is it? Gravitational force, I mean there are a lot of differences, but அதுல ஒரு important difference என்ன? Gravitational force is always attractive. இதுக்கு முன்னாடி சிச்சுவேஷன்ல பாத்தீங்கன்னா every mass m1 ஆகட்டும் or m2 ஆகட்டும் or m3 ஆகட்டும் or m4, every mass is attracting m. Okay, but இங்க அப்படி வராது. q1 may attract q if they are unlike charges. If they are like charges means it will repel. இங்க பாருங்க, if q2 and q are a like charge வெச்சுக்கோங்க, அப்ப என்னது? q2 will repel. புரியுதா? The electrostatic force can be attractive or repulsive. So let us say q3 is unlike, அப்ப என்னது? Attractive. q4 நம்ம unlike வெச்சுக்கலாம், attractive. q5 let us say like, அப்ப என்ன வரும்? Repulsive force. Okay, but overall பாத்தீங்கன்னா here also we'll have what? Many forces acting on the object because of the surrounding charges. So if you want to know what is the total force, enna pananum? Just we have to add up whatever the number of forces acting, right? Adella nam appadiye add pananum. So even if there is a sixth force, even if there is a seventh force, you have to add them by using the vector law of addition. Appadi add panna what we are going to get? We are going to get what we call as the cumulative force. அதுக்கு இங்க என்ன சொல்லலாம்? Resultant force ன்னு சொல்லலாம், or we can say net force. Cumulative force ன்னு சொல்லலாம், resultant force சொல்லலாம், or we can say what? Net force. Okay வா? அவ்வளவுதான். This is what is the concept of the cumulative force or net force. So whenever a charge is present, if it is surrounded by multiple charges, you want to find what is the force acting on and the ஒரு சார்ஜ்க்கு மேல what is the force acting. அப்ப நம்ம என்ன பண்ணணும்? ஒரு சார்ஜ்ல இருந்து what is the force coming onto this particular charge, and the force எல்லாம் நம்ம ஆட் பண்ணணும். எப்படி? By using the vector principles. Okay, this is the concept. But எப்படி நம்ம இந்த அப்ரோச் பண்ணணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு we have to learn only through examples. ஏன்னா ஒரு ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் மாதிரி நம்ம படிச்சு உட்கார்றதுக்கு this is not a board exam. So normally நம்ம board examல பார்த்தீங்கன்னா என்ன வரும்? They will ask what is the idea of cumulative force acting on the charged particle. அப்படி like you will have a statement, but நீட்ல நமக்கு அப்படி வராது. You will have application of this cumulative force concept. Okay, so what we are going to see is how questions can be asked. எந்த மாதிரி questions வரலாம் based upon the cumulative concept. Okay, so this is a very important. இதுக்கு முன்னாடி நம்ம என்ன பார்த்திருக்கோம்? We have seen problems based on the straight and the Coulomb's law expression based பண்ணி எந்த மாதிரி questions வரணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு we have seen. இப்போ என்ன தெரியுமா? We are going to look at the questions based on the cumulative force concept. Okay, so we'll just go with some very basic questions. Check it, students. There are three charges Q, 2Q and 3Q. There are three charges Q, 2Q and 3Q are kept on the x-axis. We have kept them on the x-axis. Q is kept at the origin. X is equal to 0 origin dana. 2Q is kept where x is equal to L and the position of the x coordinate. And the madri 3Q is kept where at x is equal to 2L. What is the net force acting on the 2Q charge? And the 2Q charge mela, what is the net force? Adha nama calculate pannom. See, in the madri questions varumbodhu enna theriyuma, we will not simplify or substitute the value of k. Either k agatum or generally we will take that all these particles are kept in the air. K க்கு பதிலா நம்ம என்ன யூஸ் பண்ணலாம்? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. If the charges are kept in the air means we can use what? K க்கு பதிலா what we can use? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. So final answer பாத்தீங்கன்னா either the K will be as it is, K அப்படியே இருக்கும், இல்லனா this 1 by 4 pi epsilon will be as it is. We will not substitute the values. Okay, because these are in the parameter form. They are not giving the charges. Q value kudukala, 2Q value kudukala, 3Q value kudukala. They are just giving us the values as what? Q, 2Q, 3Q. So adanala we are going to keep the K as it is, and the final answer the K agatum or 4 pi epsilon naught, 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, and the value அப்படியே இருக்கும். Okay va? So பாருங்க நம்ம என்ன பண்ணனும்? We should find what is the net force acting on the 2Q charge. இதுல என்ன தெரியுமா? First we should know how many forces. இது சொல்லுங்க. How many forces? இப்போ நம்ம என்ன பண்ண போறோம்? வெறும் இந்த 2Q மட்டும் நம்ம அப்சர்வ் பண்ண போறோம். Because what is our task? Net force acting on the 2Q. 2Q மேல we have to find what is the net force. அதுதானா? How many forces will be acting on 2Q? பாருங்க, 2Q is surrounded by two more charges தானா? என்னென்னது? ஒன்னு this Q value, ரெண்டாவது 3Q. So 2Q is surrounded by two charges. அப்போ எத்தனை forces act ஆகும் 2Q மேல? Two forces will be acting on the 2Q. Okay வா? One will be force because of the charge Q. ரெண்டாவது force coming because of 3Q charge. Okay வா? So எத்தனை force act ஆகும்? அந்த 2Q charge மேல there will be two forces. ஒன்னு என்னது? The force coming because of the charge Q. ரெண்டாவது the force coming because of the charge 3Q. Okay va? So these are the two forces acting on the charge 2Q. Okay, அதுக்கப்புறம் என்ன தெரியுமா? We will try to look at what will be the directions of the forces. We know there will be two forces acting on the 2Q. And the 2Q charge க்கு மேல எத்தனை forces இருக்கா? Two forces are there. We should know what will be the directions of the forces. அந்த மாதிரி we should also know what is the magnitudes of the forces. என்ன நமக்கு வேணும்? We should know what is the and the forces ஓட direction வேணும். அந்த மாதிரி we should also know what is the magnitudes of the forces. இந்த ரெண்டு values நமக்கு வேணும். Okay, so இங்க பாருங்க 2Q தான் நம்ம அப்சர்வ் பண்ணது. Q, 2Q, 3Q எல்லாம் என்ன தெரியுமா? These are all like charges. Like charges என்ன சொன்னா என்னது? If Q is positive means 2Q positive தான். அந்த மாதிரி 3Q also will be what? Positive. Okay, அப்படி இல்லாம if say for example Q is negative, 2Q also will be what? Negative. ஏன்னா so Q minus 1 coulomb வெச்சுக்கோங்க. நீங்க 2 மல்டிப்ளை பண்ணா என்ன வரும்? minus 2 coulomb ஆயிடும். 3 எடுத்து மல்டிப்ளை பண்ணா என்ன வரும்? minus 3 coulomb தானா? So Q, 2Q, 3Q என்னது? All these are like charges. All these are what? Like charges தானா? So like charges and சொன்ன உடனே what is the thing that will come to your mind straight away? என்ன வரும்? Like charges repel each other. repel தானா? இங்க பாருங்க. So 2q will be repelled by q. repelled ன்னு சொன்னா என்னது? இப்படி தான repel. So q எந்த பக்கம் இருக்கா? q left side ல இருக்கா. So q will apply a force pushing the 2q. repel ன்னு சொன்னா என்னது? pushing தானா? So this will be the direction of force acting because of q. பாருங்க, q will try to repel. இப்போ நீங்க அப்படியே அப்சர்வ் பண்ணுங்க. like say for example q is here, 2q is here. 2q will repel. repel ன்னு சொன்னா என்னது? The force will be away. Okay va? This is what will be the direction of force because of the charge q. எதுக்கு மேல? on charge 2q. okay, next we look at what about the force due to the 3q charge. இங்க பாருங்க, 3q and 2q are what? like charges தானா? so 3q also will repel 2q. இது எப்படி வரும் பாருங்க, it will repel. repel ன்னு சொன்னா என்னது? it will be away from 3q. so I'll just write down here. இது என்னது? 2q charge. 2q charge will experience two forces. என்னன்னா? force because of q. in the particular diagramல என்னது? it will be towards the right side. அந்த மாதிரி it will experience one more force, that is force because of 3q. அது எந்த பக்கம் வரும்? it will be towards the left because 2q is repelled by q. அந்த மாதிரி 2q is also repelled by 3q. okay va? so we are able to know what are the directions of the forces. அதுக்கப்புறம் என்ன வேணும்? we should know the force ஓட magnitudes. we should know the force magnitudes. இப்போ பாருங்க, first we will look at what is the magnitude of the force between q and 2q. அந்த q charge 2q, அந்த ரெண்டு சார்ஜ் நடுவுல what is the force between them? அதுக்கு நம்ம எந்த ஃபார்முலா இருக்கா? கூலும்ஸ் லா ஃபார்முலா தானா? so 2q and q, what is the கூலும்ஸ் லா ஃபார்முலா? k into q into 2q. ஏன்னா ரெண்டு சேம் டைப் ஆஃப் சார்ஜஸ். ஓகே, so நம்ம மாடுலஸ் போட வேண்டாம். எதுக்கு பாருங்க, if q and 2q are positive means அதோட ப்ராடக்ட் will be positive only. if 2 and 2q are negative, அப்போ என்ன வரும்? the product of them will be still positive. ஏன்னா நெகட்டிவ் நெகட்டிவ் மல்டிப்ளை பண்ணா பாசிட்டிவ் தானே வரும். so k into q into 2q divided by அந்த ரெண்டு சார்ஜ் நடுவுல what is the distance? இந்த distance என்னன்னு பாருங்க, q is at the origin, 2q is at a position x is equal to l. so அந்த ரெண்டுத்துக்கு நடுவுல what is the gap? l தானா? அந்த ரெண்டு சார்ஜோட பொசிஷன் நடுவுல what is the gap between them? l. so பாருங்க, distance between them எவ்வளவு? l. so denominatorல என்ன வரும்? r square தானா? k into modulus வரணும். பட் modulus நம்ம யூஸ் பண்றது கிடையாது. எதுக்கு? because since q and 2q are same type of charges, அதோட product rate will be always going to be positive, whether the q and 2q are positive or q and 2q are negative. when you multiply both of them means totally என்ன வரும்? positive தானா? so அதனால we are not keeping the modulus value. okay va? so k into product of the magnitude of the charges divided by distance square. இதுல distance என்னது? l. so அதனால l square வருது பாருங்க. so this is what in the force because of q ஓட magnitude என்ன வரும் பாருங்க, 2kq square by l square. என்னது? 2kq square by l square. okay va? so that is the force between the charge q and 2q. இதுக்கு அப்புறம் நமக்கு என்ன வேணும்? we need to find what is the force between the charge 3q and 2q. இந்த ரெண்டு சார்ஜ் நடுவுல what is the force? ஓகே, இங்க பாருங்க, so இங்க என்ன வரும்? k into இங்கேயும் அப்படிதான், because both are like charges, right? ப்ராடக்ட் பண்ணா we are anyway going to get positive. அதனால we can remove the modulus. k into 2q into 3q. இங்க பாருங்க, what is the distance between these two charges? இங்க என்னது பொசிஷன் என்ன? x is equal to l. இங்க என்னது? x is equal to l. so gap எவ்வளவு வரும்? x is equal to l and x is equal to l. gap எவ்வளவு? l தானா? so distance between them is also what? l. so 2 3s are 6. 6kq square by l square. so இது என்னது? 6kq square by l square. பாருங்க, the two forces acting on the charge 2q, அதோட values என்னென்ன? the force because of 2q, what is the value? force acting on 2q, there are two forces. One is force because of Q, ரெண்டாவது force because of 3Q. Force because of Q is towards the right side. பாருங்க எங்க இருக்கா, it is towards the right side. ஓகேவா? அதோட வேல்யூ என்ன, 2kq square by L square. அதோட வேல்யூ என்ன, 2kq square by L square. ஓகேவா? So finally நான் அந்த diagram நான் represent பண்ண போறேன். Then there is a force because of 3q. அது எந்த பக்கம் வருது, left side. What is the value of that, 6kq square by L square. இங்க பாருங்க, there are two forces acting on the charge 2q. 2q மேல there are two forces. One is towards the right side. அதோட வேல்யூ என்ன, 2kq square by L square. ரெண்டாவது towards the left. அதோட வேல்யூ என்னது, 6kq square by L square. நீங்க சொல்லுங்க, if there are two vectors in the opposite direction, resultant ன்னு சொன்னா நம்ம என்ன பண்ணணும், it should be what, between the two vectors one of them will have a higher value. இதுல பாருங்க, which of them is a higher force ன்னு சொன்னா which of them is having a higher magnitude. எதுல இருக்கா, 6kq square by L square is having a higher magnitude. So higher magnitude force minus lower magnitude force. பாருங்க, 6kq square by L square minus 2kq square by L square என்ன வரும், 4kq square by L square. இதுதானா, this is what is the cumulative force or the resultant force or net force. இதெல்லாம் சொல்லலாம். We can say cumulative force or we can say resultant force or we can say net force. பாருங்க, this is in which direction, it will be in the direction of the higher magnitude force. Higher magnitude force என்னது, 6kq square by L square தானா. So the net force or the resultant force or the cumulative force is in which direction here, it is in the left side. எந்த direction இருக்கா, it is in the left side. But left side ன்னு சொல்றதுக்கு பதிலா this is the direction of the cumulative force. ஓகேவா? So left side ன்னு சொல்றதுக்கு பதிலா we can also say one thing, we can say the cumulative force is towards negative x-axis. அப்படியும் சொல்லலாம். ஏன் பாருங்க, because right side is what, right side என்னது, it is like the positive x-axis side தானா. So left side ன்னு சொல்றதுக்கு பதிலா what we can say, because அந்த பக்கம் left side means what, that is towards the other side, which is what, அந்த பக்கம் என்ன இருக்கும், இது என்னது, negative x-axis தானா. So we can say the cumulative force is towards the negative x-axis. அப்படியே சொல்லலாம். ஓகேவா? So this is what is the concept of finding the cumulative force. Okay students, so we'll conclude the session here. நீங்க என்ன பண்ணலாம்னா, you can start solving questions on the cumulative force concept, applications of the cumulative force. சின்ன idea that what is it, when having multiple forces acting on the charge, net force and சொல்லலாம் or cumulative force or resultant force is given by what, it is given by the resultant or vector sum of all the forces acting on the body. அந்த vector sum நம்ம எப்படி கொண்டு வர போறோம்னு சொல்லிட்டு அதுதான், like when you look at the applications, right, எங்க difference வருது from problem to problem, in what way we are going to find the vector addition. அவ்வளவுதான். சிம்பிளா என்ன தெரியுமா, all these problems you can do really well if you are good in vectors. Vectors நீங்க கொஞ்சம் clear-ஆ வெச்சுக்கோங்க, then you will be able to solve these questions very easily. So நீங்க ஒன்னு பண்ணலாம், like in our in the portal you can see the video lectures on vectors already irukka. So you can go through all the lectures thoroughly, because we are going to use all these vector and the vector law of addition principles irukku theriyuma. All these things we are going to use while solving problems on this cumulative force. Okay va? So we'll see in the next session guys. Till then keep practicing.